Pokhara is where the mountains meet the lake and spirituality and adventure meet in equal measure. We're going to go and explore the town today, so let's get stuck in. We're starting our adventure here in Pokhara in a place called Sarangkot Viewpoint. It's about 750 metres above the town of Pokhara itself, and it requires us to also climb a bunch of steps. Now, it's not the whole way up on steps. We actually caught a cab to the base, and then we're making our way by foot for the last section. And of course, it's immediately a grind and I'm busting a lung straight off. Bit hazy again this morning, so we can't see as far as we'd like. Apparently on a clear day you can even see the Himalayas. Well, that's not going to happen today, but I'm sure there's plenty of good things to see anyway. On these trips, people often say they want to see Susan as well, so there's a token shot of Susan and she's also puffed. At the top, at the viewpoint, before we even look at the view, there's just this stunning temple. I think it's a dedication to Shiva, and the red brick is just, I'm in love. It's just a wonderful, wonderful structure. It's got a lot of wonderful wood carving as well for the roof. Love it, absolutely love it. Now there's certain areas here that you need to take your shoes off on. Not every area is like that, but for example, that little fake grass area there where you can see a viewpoint, you need to take your shoes off for. And that's, like in my experience, pretty standard at a lot of these sorts of temples in different countries that I've been to. You do need to take your shoes off in certain areas. Sometimes in the whole complex, like I know in Burma when I've been there are certain places where you just take your shoes off for the whole time. Just had to buy a ticket to get into the very top area. This guy's just sold us a couple of tickets for 60 rupees each.
Okay.
At the very top, there is this big statue of Ganesh. And when I say big, I mean it's sort of hard to see the scale. And I probably should do it from a bit of a further back angle, but that is an enormous statue of Ganesh. Is that a little rat with a ball? If I knew more about religion, I'd probably be able to explain exactly what the symbolism is there. But I really, unfortunately, religion is one of my weak spots. But that's a beautiful statue. And then further up, there's a big tower, which I'm assuming is so you can get a better view of the surrounding area. Even from the back, that statue looks pretty cool. Look at that. And despite the haze up here on top of the mountain, it's still a wonderful view down to the valley below. I'd say that, yeah, I think we came about 700 metres, so that's what we're looking at there. A little bit more of a view of that Ganesh from the bottom there, the five-headed god, which represents I think it's the 5 different ways of living life, something along those lines. It's a beautiful statue. Apparently, it was only completed 2 weeks ago. It's taken it's taken a year and a half to complete. Getting to Sarangkot is fairly easy. Most people just catch a taxi like we did. We paid 1,500 Nepalese rupees for a return trip in a taxi, which I think is pretty good value given how far it is. It's a long way out of town. You're coming up 700 or 800 metres up a mountain. I think it's alright. There are other ways to get here. Some people catch a bus here, but I don't know if you can do that for sunrise. Some people do tours. You can get a motorbike taxi to do it for you as well. I think you can probably get that for about... You can probably do that for 700 rupees, I think. But again, you know, it's pretty... If you're two people, it's much of a muchness as catching a cab. It's a bit difficult, actually, with a lot of these sort of transport things here in Nepal. A lot of it's by negotiation, a bit like Bali, really. And getting an idea of what the right price should be and not getting ripped off takes a bit of adjustment. So I think I'm happy with the price that I got. Maybe you can get it cheaper, maybe you can get it more expensive, but it's not a lot of money. Hey, can I get a boat?
Yes, please.
Just for me on my own.
No need driver?
No driver.
Okay, sir. How long?
1 hour.
It's okay. 800 rupees, please.
800 rupees. We're on a boat. We rented a boat for an hour, 800 rupees. So we're on the lake, and it's quite beautiful. You've got a few choices about how you do this sort of boat trip. You can either get a guide to drive you can do it on your own. You can go on larger trips right up to the other end of the lake. We've chosen to, this time, do it on our own, so I'm paddling. We haven't gone very far, it's hard yakka. It only costs an extra 100 rupees for a boat driver, which is obviously the sensible choice. But I sort of like, I don't know, sometimes having a guide or someone helping you out, even though it's cheap, I sort of prefer not to do it, mainly because I like to have the peace and quiet and the, well, I like hanging out with Susan. I mean, that's one of the main reasons. If you've got a guide there or a boat driver, you sort of, you have this third person there that sort of, I don't know, for me, interrupts the flow a little bit. So that's why we're doing it on our own. Yeah, it's doing my arm muscles, but it's very peaceful. Very peaceful. I've put Susan to work. I was getting a bit tired doing all the work on my own, so she's on the left, I'm on the right. But it's hard going pedaling these boats on your own. A cheeky little paddle to the other side of the lake. It's quite nice over here. There's a jungle and a few walking tracks. We're the only ones over here. It doesn't seem to be a very popular place to go. Everyone else seems to have a boatman and they're shooting up and down the lake and around and about, but you know, I don't have the arms for that sort of activity. So what we might do is head back across the lake, slow time, take it easy and enjoy it. Alright, let's get the show on the road. I'm going to try and do it Nepalese style. They push it and then jump on the boat without falling in. So, alright. Alright. Shit. Wow. I almost went in. That was bad. That was real bad. I shouldn't have done that. That's way above my level of ability. But we're underway now. Wow. Woo! Got a little bit of a headwind coming back the other way. So we've just had a rest. There's a great view up there. There's an island over there which you can go to as well, which has some spiritual significance. We won't have a chance to get to that today, but that's something that I've heard is worth having a look at as well. We're probably halfway across now, and the sun's come out and it's warmed right up. So yesterday it was quite warm when we arrived. This morning I was surprised that it was pretty cool, so I had this long sleeve on. So I've kept the long sleeve on for most of the morning, and now that the sun's come out, it's really, well, it's way too warm. It's probably, I don't know, I'd say 22 degrees with the sun shining. It's going to get a lot hotter, so basically I've got to get back to the dock and get this long sleeve shirt off because it's killing me. It's just too hot. All right, we're in. That wasn't a bad paddle across actually in the end. Boat's a bit rocky on the way. Oh, Susan's nearly gone down. You gotta be careful getting off these boats. A bit slippery, a bit rocky. Oh yeah, like that. Okay, thank you. Coincidentally, we're here in Pokhara during the Holi festival, which is one of the major festivals of the year in Nepal and India. And one of the things they do is they throw this sort of colourful powder at one another in the streets. This guy's selling, he's a seller. One thing I'm hoping for is that I don't get caught up in all the celebrations with throwing all the powder and stuff. I once got caught up in that in Burma, and it was just absolutely wild. There's a bit of like a lot of alcohol involved when I was in Burma that time, and I actually saw a girl fall off a balcony from the 3rd floor, and because all the locals were drunk, it was chaos. There really wasn't very good first aid, and I just had to get out of there. It was just awful, and there was a sort of buzz in the air and negative energy. That was later on in the day after people had drunk too much, so I don't want to get caught up in any of those sorts of things. But I mean, I don't get the feeling that that's going to happen here at all. It's got a quite a nice feel. I've seen a few people around the place with you know, pink and yellow powder covered on their face. They've obviously been down there and had a bit of a play in the powder. Hey, it's my guy from yesterday. How you going? Good morning, how are you?
Very nice. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again.
Just came here. And,
Good business today or not? Not yet?
no.
Not yet?
Today not. Yesterday better.
Okay, well good luck with the rest of the day.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Love that guy. Such a nice, warm-spirited guy. So the main thing that's going on down here is people are getting in their boats, carrying offerings, and then getting across to there's a temple in the middle of the lake that people are going down to. It's the main thing I'm seeing here. I'm not seeing much of that powder stuff happening. So we're a little bit safe from that for the time being. But I wouldn't be surprised if it fires up at a later stage this morning or later this afternoon. Another side to Pokhara is that there's a lot of these sort of health food shops where they do cold pressed juices and stuff like that. So I got myself a mango smoothie. Susan got herself an immune booster, which is one of her favourite things with the ginger in it. I think we're getting into the danger zone here. I see kids with water guns. And I didn't know if that was part of the celebration, but it looks like it might be. And I reckon I look like a prime target with this hat on and this necklace. So let's see what happens here. I'll say hello to them. Uh-oh, they're getting excited. Nah. Oh, they didn't get me, that's good. Oh, there's some cows fighting on the road as well. Down there, look at that. Cows having a go at each other. I don't know who owns those. Look at that story. Well, they didn't get us, so I'm pretty thankful about that. But I'm seeing a lot of evidence of shenanigans down here. And my hope is I don't get done. It's one thing to join in the celebrations, but it's another thing to get water bombed, egged. I don't know, do they egg you? If I was playing, I'd get the eggs out. You know, like throwing powder at each other. You know, I'm just not into it today. One of the things you do have to do when you're in Nepal, if you want to go trekking, is actually have a permit. And you can buy those in Pokhara before you go up into the mountains. That's what we're doing right here. And it's sort of on the outskirts of town. So that's the permit done, pretty easy. 3,000, takes you about 10 minutes. Fill out a form, give them a couple of passport photos, and then they give you back a little slip of paper, which you'll need to present along the trek, whichever trek you're doing here in Nepal. You're gonna have to present that at different checkpoints where government officials will check to make sure you've paid that fee. Now you really need to buy that permit here before you go up into the hills, because if you don't, there's a chance you either can't buy the permit on the spot, one of those checkpoints, or you may have to pay an increased fee depending on the checkpoint. So always advisable to get your permit before you go. Just walking down to a cave and a waterfall, and hello. Hey! The youth are out and about, having a good old time. Well, yeah, we're heading down to a oh, that's cool, boomerang restaurant, old little shack. Yeah, we're just heading down to a cave and a waterfall. Apparently it's just on the outskirts of town, and you have to walk down there about 3 k's. And that's what we're doing now. And just also trying to check out what some of the outer edges of the town look like. You know, that downtown tourist area, very nice, very civilized, very, you know, well kept and all that sort of stuff. You get, like, I mean, we're only talking a kilometre out of that little area, or maybe a kilometre and a half. And then you get a little bit more rural, a little bit more countryside, which is really incredible in such a bustling city like Pokhara. You know, you have little farms, tiny huts where people are living. And so I really sort of enjoy that aspect of when you go to a town or a city, just trying to get just slightly outside of that area. Even somewhere like Bali, if you go a couple of blocks back from Sanur, it's a little bit more local. Kuta, you do the same thing. You go a few blocks and it's a lot more local style. And it's just an interesting sort of contrast. Oh, that's cool. Old bridge. The new one's there. That's the old one. I go across the bridge, may as well. It's here. It doesn't look too bad. It's fairly sturdy. I mean, just as long as these planks don't sort of, you know, bust on me, I should be okay. They feel really thick planks. Oh, that's really nice. Oh, that's really nice. And down there, it's sort of like a lagoon, and there's people down there washing. I'm sure people go and bathe there occasionally as well. And then the river flows down in that direction. That's the new bridge up there. But this is actually quite a nice little bridge. Really love it. This is the old school style, which I love. Got to watch out that you don't step on a nail or fall through the planks. Unreal. Love it. Love that sort of stuff. The old way. So we're on our way to what I had assumed was a fairly popular sort of tourist attraction here in town. And because of that, I had expected that this road on the way out there would be fairly busy with other tourists like us walking there. But I haven't seen anyone yet, and I'm a little bit surprised. I mean, it's happened a couple of times so far. I'm surprised it's actually happened at a few different places that we've been. Just here, also in Kathmandu a little bit, to be honest, that we keep seeming to be the only ones around, yet I have seen a lot of other tourists here. So I don't know where they are, but they're not here, which is a little bit odd really, because I think this is quite beautiful. Having a little walk through the rural area, only a kilometre or so outside of town. I actually love doing this sort of thing, even if it's not going towards a particular thing. But when you're going to an actual tourist attraction, I mean, God, you'd expect it to be lined with other tourists like me. And there's no one. Oh well, we'll carry on. We've moved from semi-rural into something that looks a little bit more residential, and a lot of these buildings look quite modern. They look quite new. I wouldn't mind living in one of these houses. Wouldn't mind building one of these back in Sanur, actually. They're a simple box construction, but they're big. They've got usually like 3 stories. Lots of windows, so they'll be bright and airy inside. Wouldn't mind one. I wonder how much I can get one of those for. This dog's got a bit of colour on him too. Hello. Ooh, you can hang it. Probably should back out of that. You nearly bit me. Lucky I've got lightning quick reflexes. So this is Gupteshwar Mahadev's cave and Devi Fall. I'm just getting nearly barreled over here. But this is one of these other attractions here in Pokhara that you've probably got to see. I'm now seeing my first group of other visitors, but yeah, it's more like a group sort of situation rather than independent tourists. So that probably explains some of the lack of people I'm seeing on the road, because I guess a lot of people may be getting bussed into places like this. So the Gupteshwar Mahadev cave is a spiritual cave for the locals, and it's actually more than just a spiritual cave, not just like a grotto or something like that. It's a 3-kilometre long cave that is quite far down. I'll show you the sort of spiral shaped staircase that leads down to the bottom there, and once I get inside, unfortunately I'm not allowed to record myself, because I can record myself up until a point. I'll do that just so you get an idea of what we're dealing with here. You can hear some of the people praying down there to that sort of chant, and it's just such an interesting atmosphere with the chanting and the music going on. This spiral staircase is absolutely amazing. It sort of spirals down into the heart of the cave below. And as you're coming down, you've got the chanting in one ear, you've got people screaming out in the other ear, hey, hey, come on. It's chaotic, frenetic, and just a wonderful atmosphere. So down the bottom here, I can't film any further, and that's when we get into the cave. So basically that cave was a massive big cavern. We duck through, get to a temple, and go to another area, and there's then the abyss. So you see a big black area with a huge waterfall. Sort of, you can hear that waterfall in the distance, but you can't see it. So definitely something worth coming to if you're in Pokhara. I enjoyed it. It's pretty cool. Across the road from the cave is Devi's Fall, which we'll go and check out now. What's interesting is at the front it says Devi's Falls. My ticket says David's Falls. That doesn't sound like a Nepalese name. And then this one says Davi's Falls. So it's either Davy, Devi, or David. I don't know which one. I reckon Devi's probably the most likely one. But yeah, a bit weird. They've got different, maybe it's like transliterations from the actual Nepalese script. So that's Devi's Falls. It's moderately interesting, I guess. Apparently during summer it's a lot more volume of water coming through, a lot more violent. They've got these big blue bars which sort of, for me, spoil it, but I guess that's probably because people have fallen in during past years, I would imagine. And to be honest, it's not really somewhere you have to come to. It's okay. I mean, if you've got nothing else to do, yeah, slip down here, pay your 150 rupees and have a bit of a look, but it's not like a must-do activity here in Pokhara. To be honest, the best thing about coming to these sorts of attractions usually is the journey getting there, walking through the villages or whatnot, rather than the actual attraction itself. It's almost always the way. It's more about the actual trip during the day, and this is just part of the experience. So, you know, you don't get sort of hell-bent focused on one waterfall. You sort of take it all as a package of getting there, having a bit of a feed, talking to a few people, and then seeing the waterfall. That's sort of the way I handle it anyway. And with that said, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks for watching once again. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all things Sanur and Nepal. I'll catch you next time.